Folks, when we talk about the importance of elections, gubernatorial elections matter. In Maryland, Republican Governor Larry Hogan currently holds that position. We told you yesterday how he's been in a back and forth battle with Maryland State's Attorney, with Baltimore State's Attorney, Marilyn Mosby. One of the folks who is running for office to replace Hogan, who is term limited, is John King, the former Education Secretary. He joins us right now. First of all, John, glad to have you back on the show. One of the issues that Hogan keeps raising is crime. We're hearing this in other races as well. And so how much of that is a major part of your campaign?
You know, Governor Hogan has used crime really as a dog whistle issue to try to stir up his base. He had this initiative a few weeks ago called Refund the Police, even though there's no community in Maryland that has defunded the police. And in fact, in the city of Baltimore, the police budget has gone up. So it's really just a political tactic. My argument is, yes, there's a role for police in stopping the flow of illegal guns and investigating murders. But what we really need to do is reimagine public safety. We need to invest much more in addiction treatment and mental health services, in violence prevention programs. We can have civil rights protection and public safety. Those aren't in tension. We actually need to achieve both.
And that obviously is just one of the tactics the right uses, where they label any Democrat with defund, defund, defund.
That's exactly right. And look, it's part of a pattern with Governor Hogan. You know, he gets a lot of credit for being anti-Trump and pro-vaccine. That is a very, very low bar. One of the first things he did when he took office was he canceled a transportation project that would have connected poor neighborhoods in Baltimore with where the jobs are. He sent almost $1 billion back to the Obama administration. And again, it was dog whistle politics. It was saying, oh, well, why are we going to spend money on those people?
In terms of priorities, education obviously is area of interest for you, and we know that that's been a major concern for folks who are in Baltimore. And so, what will you do different if elected governor?
Yeah, we need to invest much more in our K-12 schools. Actually, the General Assembly just passed a major school funding reform package over Governor Hogan's veto. Some of my Democratic opponents are reluctant about it, but I believe it's very important to follow through on that additional investment in raising teacher pay and making all of our high poverty schools community schools with wraparound services to support families, investing in career and technical education so young people are prepared for good 21st century jobs. And I think we need to build on that reform. I've called for universal affordable childcare, birth through 5. We can afford to do that in Maryland. It's a question of political will. And we have to invest much more in our community colleges and our historically Black colleges and universities in the state. Those are institutions that have been engines of social mobility for generations. My grandmother graduated from University of Maryland Eastern Shore in 1894, changed the whole trajectory of our family. Those are the kinds of institutions we've got to prioritize going forward.
Questions from my panel. Faraji, you're there. You're based there in Baltimore. Your question for John King.
Good evening, Mr. King. My big question is, as a citizen of Baltimore and one who has, keeps up with the politics of everything, what do you think your administration, what will be your administration's relationship to the city of Baltimore? Because as it currently stands, when it comes to Baltimore City and Annapolis, it can be a contentious relationship, whether you're talking about funding for education or, most importantly, crime and violence issues. So we've seen that from Governor Larry Hogan. We've seen that from previous governors of the state. What will be your administration's tone and relationship to city leaders, especially when it comes to funding of education and other initiatives?
Yeah, I'm so glad you framed the question that way. Look, I think the future of the state depends on the success of the city of Baltimore. And so the governor and Mayor Brandon Scott need to be partners. And I will be a partner to the city on economic development, on public safety, on investment in schools. And I think we need the state to be a partner in a neighborhood-based economic development strategy. As you know, for the last 20, 30 years, a lot of the economic development strategy in the city has focused on building up fancy apartments at the waterfront and hoping that would benefit the rest of the city. So you have middle class, working class, Black folks actually subsidizing with their tax dollars wealthy white folks living in waterfront, beautiful apartments. That is not the right way to think about economic development in the city. We need to do much more around neighborhood-based economic development. That will create a healthier city. That's investing in small businesses. That's making sure every neighborhood has a supermarket. There's good transportation between neighborhoods so folks can get to where the jobs are.
Thank you.
Reese Colbert, your question for John King.
Hi, Mr. King. My question is actually about Prince George's County. What is your, lens towards Prince George's County and the economic development there? I've noticed there's a lot of new construction, as you pointed out, but the last thing PG County needs is another chicken shack. I mean, there's a Popeyes that popped up across from Bojangles. There's a huge new development in the Capitol Heights area where the first things in there is a liquor store and a nail shop. So I'm just curious in terms of the economic plan. Prince George's County is one of the most successful predominantly Black counties in the country. And I think that the county executive, Angela Alsobrooks, does an amazing job. But I think I'm curious to see as the governor what the state contribution or state plan would be for PG County.
Yeah, I think County Executive Alsobrooks needs a partner in the governor who's focused on economic development, and part of that is improving retail. I hear from a lot of folks in Prince George's County how they have to drive to Montgomery County or Anne Arundel County to find the stores that they want. We can do something about that. The metro stops in Prince George's County, for example, are a great opportunity for mixed-use development, housing, commercial, attracting better retail to the city. We also have a lot of small business owners in Prince George's County, folks of color who are building businesses. I think we should have a state bank in Maryland, which would allow us to provide loans more easily to small businesses who often struggle to get the capital they need to grow. We also have a lot of businesses in Prince George's County that do business with the state. And the state has a terrible history around following the law around the participation of businesses owned by women and people of color in state contracts. So we need really to reform procurement in the state to make sure that small businesses owned by folks of color have a legit shot at state contracts.
Greg Carr.
Thank you, Roland, and thank you, Secretary King. And looking at the field so far, I see at least two other brothers, Rushawn Baker and Wes Moore, and a few Obama cabinet folk and appointments like they have in an Obama reunion. Tom Perez wants another bite of that one. But I guess my question has to do with how you break out beyond the attempt that they will make to label you as the Black candidate or a Black candidate. I saw your remarks on critical race theory earlier this month, where you stood up strongly in terms of the truth. And as an educator who's deeply concerned about curriculum, African and African American history and curriculum, I was really happy to see that. But how do you distinguish yourself from a field that looks pretty similar ideologically? And then if you get through the primary and win the primary in the general election, how can you grow beyond just the idea that you're a Black candidate to reach beyond that and get above that ceiling that folks like Ben Jealous and those of others may have encountered, when we know that CRT and all those labels are going to be used as a tar brush to try to, confine you to a racial kind of characterization?
Yeah, that's exactly the right question. Look, we've only had 2 elected African-American governors ever as a country. So we've got to make sure that we build a strong multiracial coalition. I think I'm the right candidate to do that. Education is certainly top of mind for voters in every part of the state. I've been the first candidate to do in-person campaign events in every county. I'm going to parts of the state that don't usually vote for Democrats, because I want them to know I want to be their governor too. I want to hear their challenges, the challenges faced by small farmers in Southern Maryland, the challenges faced by small business owners in Western Maryland near the West Virginia border. I want to help them too and make sure that government's on their side. I also think we can't leave some of these dog whistle attacks unanswered. I mean, that's why I took on the critical race theory issue. I live in Silver Spring, Maryland, about 25 miles from where my great-grandfather was enslaved in Gaithersburg, Maryland. We need to tell the truth about that. That happened. That's real. And, folks want to have that fight. Let's have it. Let's be clear that what is important is that our kids understand both the hard parts of our history and the progress that we've made.
Thank you.
All right, John King, we surely appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Good luck in the election.
Thanks so much. Great to see you.